So in the past few years, we've seen more and more actors brought back from the dead, with the use of CGI. Sometimes that means we resurrect Audrey Hepburn to sell chocolate. Sometimes we resurrect actors to play roles they were famous for playing, such as Peter Cushing in Rogue One. Or sometimes we bring back comedians or musicians to do one final show, like Les Dawson or Michael Jackson. But this time is a little different. In the new Flash movie, the multiverse concept introduces us to a kaleidoscope of actors, most of them long dead, reprising their iconic DC superhero roles. It's presented in different coloured balls floating through time. In the yellow ball, we encounter Nicolas Cage as a CGI rendered version of his younger self, portraying Superman. It's a bit odd, particularly because Cage would have definitely done it himself. That man will do anything for a paycheck. He was meant to play the role in the 90s movie Superman Lives, but that never happened for a number of reasons. There's a really good documentary on it if you want to learn more, but our focus here is not on Cage. In another ball, we catch a glimpse of Batman, played by the late Adam West, dashing through the streets of Gotham. Another ball shows us George Reeves, known for his portrayal of Superman in the old black and white TV series. Then, in the blue ball, we are treated to the sight of Christopher Reeve as Superman, despite his passing away in 2004. Standing beside him is Helen Slater, who played Supergirl in 1984. Interestingly, Reeve was originally intended to make a cameo as Superman in the Supergirl movie, but was unable to do so. Instead, a photograph of Reeve in his iconic costume was used briefly in it. At least we finally got to witness these two together. I've seen a lot of people referring to this as necromantic puppetry, or digital necromancy. And those are both more than fair ways to describe it. Certain actors who have donned the capes and cowls of DC superheroes in the past were notably absent from these multiverse balls. The likes of Brandon Routh, Tom Welling, Dean Cain, Val Kilmer, Christian Bale. Those people are all alive, and yet they didn't appear in the weird multiverse balls. Why bother digitally bringing George Reeves back to life when you could have used any of those living actors? I want to get into the topic of digital necromancy, and let's talk about it. So, is it okay to resurrect Christopher Reeve for a cameo appearance? Well, it certainly sparked a lot of debate. On one side, people are arguing that it serves as a great tribute to an actor who embodied the spirit of Superman. They see it as a fitting way to honour Reeves' legacy and remind us of his significant contribution to the superhero genre. However, not everyone embraces the idea of digitally resurrecting actors. A vast majority of people on Twitter are arguing that it can be seen as a violation of an actor's artistic integrity and a potentially exploitative use of their likeness. They question whether Reeve would have approved of his CGI cameo had he been given the choice.
And Hollywood suffers from a very bad disease called sequelitis, in which what the majors do is you take what grossed 100 million domestically last year and get the key ingredients back again and try to pump it up a few more times.
So we definitely need to look at the larger ethical considerations if we're trying to decide whether this is okay or not. Should an actor's image be used in ways he didn't explicitly consent to? Does the desire for nostalgia and fan service outweigh the potential infringements on an actor's artistic legacy? Personally, I was welling up a little when I saw Christopher Reeve. His Superman was the first superhero I ever saw, and a few months ago in my local cinema, they did a showing of the first Superman film, and I went to see it and I loved it on the big screen. It was a joy seeing him there, so I reacted really emotionally to seeing him play the role again. At least Reeve was brought back to play a role that he loved to play, rather than sell a product. In the 90s, Fred Astaire was edited to look like he was selling a vacuum cleaner. He didn't consent to that. And then 2 years after that, in 1997, John Wayne sold beers 20 years after his death. I know it's a small consolation, but at least Christopher Reeve wasn't used to sell toilet paper or something. This was a role that he loved to play and was proud to play. Now, Christopher Reeve's cameo was not the first time we've witnessed the resurrection of deceased actors through the magic of CGI. One notable example can be found in Superman Returns, where Marlon Brando's likeness was digitally inserted into the film as Superman's father, Jor-El. This decision, made 17 years after Brando's passing, sparked debate, even back then, about the ethics of posthumous appearances. If only he knew that was only the very beginning. Peter Cushing, who portrayed Grand Moff Tarkin in the original Star Wars, passed away in '94. However, a few years ago in Rogue One, he made a digital return, brought back to life with CGI. The involvement of Cushing's estate in this decision-making process played a crucial role, ensuring that the portrayal was done with respect and in alignment with the late actor's legacy. I can't imagine a world where they didn't get permission of the Reeve estate, unless Warner Brothers own his Superman likeness for eternity. I genuinely can't see this happening without their approval. The Mandalorian was another one to use CGI to digitally alter an actor, only in that case it was more of a CGI rejuvenation rather than resurrection. As Mark Hamill is still alive, his participation and approval were obviously a big part of the decision, and people didn't seem to have a problem with the ethics of that. They had problems with how bad it looked, but not once did I hear about the ethics. Christopher Reeve did not look great because the CGI wasn't great. Unbelievably, this movie cost $200 million. Yeah, he didn't look fantastic. But if it's okay if Mark Hamill does it and he's still alive, does that mean it's fine if they're alive to approve of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear everyone's different opinions on this. Kevin Smith shared his opinion on it. I was really excited to hear what he thought about it all because he was the writer of the Superman Lives movie that Nicolas Cage was meant to be in the 90s. He said, "It didn't bother me at all. I thought it was a really nice homage to the past. It didn't feel like an insult, it felt like a homage." Smith's argument against those who question the ethics of using deceased actors' images revolves around the notion that actors don't enter the industry to be shy or avoid being seen. He believes that most actors would not object to their image being used after death, as it keeps their name relevant and their legacy alive. Smith even went as far as giving the world permission to use his image or that of his beloved character Silent Bob in films after he passed away, which all seems fair enough, but just because he might be comfortable with the idea of the image being used in future films, it doesn't mean that all actors share that same sentiment. But I wanted to include his opinion in case it swayed your opinion either way. Now, there's one big problem I have with all this, and that's the appearance of George Reeves as Superman. While we can kind of justify Christopher Reeve appearing as him loving that role and his family giving their approval, the case is very different with George. The problem is, he doesn't have any living family to approve of it. Not to mention that not only did he kill himself because he couldn't get away from the Superman role, but this movie was released on the 64th anniversary of his death, having killed himself on June 16th. 1959. It just feels like that one in particular is in bad taste. George Reeves grew to hate the Superman role because it typecast him. He definitely would have said no to a cameo if he was still alive. I'm not sure why he was even necessarily there. Was it necessary to resurrect him? Why not put Tom Welling from Smallville there instead, or Grant Austin? Surely they would appeal to more people than the random few 70-year-olds who would have seen that old Superman TV show. How did you decide George Reeves was a better cameo than Grant Austin, the guy who literally brought the Flash back into the public consciousness? Ezra Miller was even in that show. It doesn't make any sense. For the most part, I was quite dismissive when I saw people talking about these moments and dismissing them as digital necromancy because of how much the appearance of Christopher Reeve affected me. I was nearly in tears in the cinema seeing it, but I can completely see how in bad taste it is when it comes to George Reeve. It's almost enough for me to be dead against it. It feels like an abuse of the actor's image. It goes against what he would have wanted. This isn't the same as doing a concert, like how they use CGI holograms to sell tickets to Michael Jackson shows or Tupac shows or a stand-up routine like they did with Les Dawson, so his wife and kid could see him live again. This was a few seconds in a movie that was fine without this moment. It wasn't necessary, so why do it? The use of CGI cameos of deceased actors in films is a difficult topic to address, as there are compelling arguments on both sides. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts on this because I genuinely don't know where to stand on it. Do we leave these actors to rest in peace? Or do we embrace the possibilities offered by technological advancements and continue this necromantic puppetry? Right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Subscribe, we are so close to 3k, help us get there. Right, I'll let you go.